Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are working our way through Star Trek. And we were working our way through the Star Trek, the original series, of course, but we finished that, which takes us out to the movies. So, in a weird case, this is actually going to be a movie review, because we're going to talk about Star Trek, the motion picture, which came out in 1979, largely as a reaction to Star Wars doing really well, because they were going to do a TV show. They actually built sets for a new TV show that was going to have like some of the cast in it, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of unclear.
Yeah, it was like a soft reboot. We call it a soft reboot today. It was like a passing of the torch TV show, and instead Star Wars became a big hit, and Paramount went, "Oh, wait a minute,
Movies.
let's make a movie." So here we have this. Robert Wise directed this, and we have Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So we're going to talk about this. We'll start spoiler free. I think it's worth doing that. We'll start spoiler free, and we'll warn you in the middle about spoilers. Maybe we can get our general thoughts out before we dive into the heavy plot details.
Yeah, and obviously you'd seen this before, so you knew what to expect. I hadn't. I was just familiar with the reputation.
What reputation is that?
That it's not great. You know, some people hate it.
No, I think that's a good way of putting it. I don't think it has a reputation that it's bad. It's just got a reputation that people don't love it that much. It's kind of like this week entry before Wrath of Khan came in and did it properly. That's kind of what the reputation says.
Yeah. I know there are some people who really hate it. I've seen that around.
So the movie's really simple, actually. There's a mysterious object with a cloud, surrounding it. This force field. And the movie starts with a couple of Klingons, which, by the way, the Klingons look like Klingons now, just in case you...
Yeah, all of a sudden, Klingons.
Klingons, yes. And do you know what I thought was really funny, actually, is that the entire show, one of the little criticisms, not a big deal, but something we brought up from time to time, is that how no matter how many planets we went to on that show, everyone everywhere spoke English without second thought. Everyone spoke English. In this movie, by the time we hit the 10-minute mark, we hear Klingons speaking in Klingon with subtitles, and we hear Vulcans speak their language with subtitles. And all I could think is that Rodden, he really wanted to do it. He was like, yeah. The entire show, he was determined to get it done.
Yeah, no, it really feels like, okay, he wasn't allowed to do this on TV. They went, nope, just we're not doing it.
Yeah, so I think Roddenberry really wanted to do it that way. He wanted to be authentic as best he could, and they just told him no on TV. So he's like, no, screw you, I'm doing it in the movie. No. Here's subtitled scenes. So that's cool. So it's basically a mysterious object. It's heading directly for Earth. The only starship, even though Starfleet is located at Earth, the only starship that's in the vicinity that can go to the thing.
Yeah.
Which obviously we'll later find out it's called V'ger, but that's like a plot point later on. But just for the record, it's V'ger, so we can call it something. V'ger's coming towards Earth. So Enterprise, it's Enterprise that's been newly built. It's been retrofitted and it's getting fixed up. It's not.
I guess it's not on Earth yet, so they're like, okay, we're intercepting because we're the closest, rather than launching from Earth.
Yes.
I guess.
What do you mean?
Yeah, you say no. Starfleet's based on Earth, so it can't be the only one nearby. They want to intercept it as far away from Earth as possible, right?
Yeah, but the Enterprise is right next to Earth.
Yeah, but maybe it's not like, I don't know. It's in for retrofitting. Maybe they don't keep the fleet there. I don't know.
Maybe they don't. I just thought it was strange that Starfleet Academy and everything's on Earth, but like the only starship. I mean, I guess they're all out somewhere. I guess that's what they're telling me. That's fine, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I'm like, that's the only one that's near Earth.
Yeah.
Whatever. But Kirk, who's been an admiral, he's not been a starship captain. He kind of does a bit of politics, bit of politicking in Starfleet to get back onto the ship and take command again, and the old crew get back together for the most part and head out.
Funny thing about that is something in the original show that was a bit of a running trend. Is this the dickbag admiral comes in and takes command and makes all the bad decisions, and our crew's like, God damn it. Yeah. And now Kirk is the dickbag admiral.
And he does actually make some mistakes because the ship's changed and he doesn't know everything like he used to. So that's actually kind of a funny observation. So they go out, and eventually Spock, who's not there to begin with, kind of ends up here as well. We'll talk about him more in spoilers, I think. And the crew's together once again. So before we get into any specific things, I guess I'll just ask the question. Connor, did you enjoy, in any capacity, Star Trek: The Motion Picture?
I would say in a relatively significant capacity, yeah. I don't really understand why people don't like it that much.
Well, you know I like it, so I don't have to tease you with the build-up
Yeah.
to my response. But I guess I'll do an impression of people who don't like this movie. It's so slow! There's no action! It's so slow! Joe, it's funny. The scene that everyone complains about is the scene where Scotty's taking Kirk to the Enterprise for the first time, and it's this long scene of them slowly flying around the Enterprise. As, by the way, the best part of this movie is the music. Goldsmith's score is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this right now. Wrath of Khan, and this is not a comment on the quality of the movie by any means, but Wrath of Khan, when I first watched it, it put me in the wrong place to begin with. It set me off on the wrong foot, because my first thought as soon as the title started in that movie was like, you're not using that theme? Are you kidding me? Are you shitting me? You're abandoning that theme from the last movie? And
still Goldsmith, right, in the next one?
No, is it? I can't remember.
I was under the impression he did quite a few of them. From memory.
I believe... no, I think it was... I would say it was Horner.
Really? I thought Horner came in quite a bit later, but maybe I'm misremembering.
I want to say Horner, hon. The composer's not in the
no, you have to click
page.
On all cast and crew. It's stupid.
Cast and crew, I know. I'm checking, but I think it was Horner. I think it changed.
Oh, fair enough. I didn't realise it was that early.
What?
But...
How did Control F compose not... Oh, music. Yeah, James Horner. Music by James Horner.
Oh, fair enough.
So sometimes they say composed by, or they say composer.
Yeah.
Idiots.
IMDb's fickle.
To be fair, I think they're matching what the movie says, because movies phrase it differently. So I'll blame the movie industry more than I'll blame IMDb. But
yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, James Horner, and the music's still good. Don't get me wrong. It's just I love the music in this movie. I think it's the star of the show.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Hell, it starts with an overture. How many big budget sci-fi movies start with an overture?
Not enough.
Because I put in the Blu-ray, last night to watch this, and I put it on, and I'm sitting there, and the screen's just black, and I'm like, is something wrong? It's like, oh, it's an overture. I forgot there was an overture.
It threw me because I was watching the Blu-ray on my PC, and I haven't used my my PC to play Blu-rays in like a year.
You thought something was wrong.
And I was using a different software to what I usually do.
Yes.
Because I used to use Power DVD, and now VLC lets me do it. So I was doing it for the first time. I was like, is this working? Am I supposed to be getting picked? So I had to click ahead and be like, oh no, it's fine. I'm getting the right thing. Okay, go back, listen to it from the start.
Yeah, no, I love how unashamedly slow that scene is of Scotty, because it's like obviously we'll go back to the other stuff, but Scotty's showing off the new babies, like the new Enterprise, right? It's retrofitted, so all this new fangled tech, and it's this slow. They're in this small little transport ship, and they're just slowly going up in the camera, and it never cuts ahead. This is the beauty of this scene. It makes you go the entire journey, and it goes all around the Enterprise inside the scaffolding, or whatever you want to call it, the space rig, and it turns around really slowly. And there's a point here, because it took a long time, because it plays up with the music where the main theme kind of kicks in when you see the Enterprise logo, the Starfleet logo on the engine. But then it keeps coming up, and it's when it turns around, there's a complete 180 to look at the front of the ship, and that's when the brass comes in. It's like, right? Actually, it's not that theme, that's the main Star Trek theme. You know what I mean? The main theme of this.
I know what you're on about, yeah.
That one, right? And that's playing, and I'm like, okay, that's naturally the ending of this scene. And then they keep flying more, and they go past the disc part, and then they go under, and then they go, it takes ages to slot into the actual little compartment. The entire thing is in real time.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a problem. I wonder
glorious.
If this is coming straight off the original series. Overall, this movie doesn't feel slow to me.
No, I agree with that. Actually, this is the thing. I actually think this is the most authentic Star Trek movie in that it feels like a Star Trek episode. There's a mysterious object out in space. We have to go and see what it is.
We've got the dickbag admiral taking command.
This is a Star Trek episode with a big budget, and it looks gorgeous. The effects are pretty great, like in terms of for the time, the practical effects.
A fair critique might be that it over relies on some of the effects.
Oh, that's fair.
At points, but they kind of look great. They hold up. You know, they've got a style to them.
Well, Joe, it's funny because obviously on the original series we were watching the remastered ones where
Yeah.
they obviously it wasn't great CG, but they kind of redid some effects with CG, and it wasn't necessarily what the original looked like. Whereas watching this felt like a movie from 1979 where they had these great models, they had this nebula effects and all that, and
it's such fantastic color.
Yeah, great color, and it reminds me of that era. It reminds me of space scenes from Superman, from Star Wars, from Alien, all the movies of that era, and how they looked in space. And maybe this is the nostalgia in me, but I kind of love how that stuff looks. So
no, I don't think it. Like I said, there might be an over reliance on some of the computer effects, but I don't think it looks bad. I think it's got a style. It's like, you know, there are effects that have just aged badly because they're trying to be something realistic, and it just doesn't look very good anymore. And, you know, at the time you forgive it because it's like, hey, that's the best you can do.
I think we're talking about the scene I was mentioning where they're flying in the little ship up to the Enterprise,
Yeah.
and anytime you see the outside of the ship, and it's like a video screen inside the window of them standing in it.
Yeah.
And it looks really fake.
Yeah.
But you go with it. That's whatever.
But no, but there's a lot of other effects in the movie that they're not trying to do the realistic things, so it has a style and it gets away with it.
I what I love about this is that it is just a Star Trek episode with a budget, and what that means is that it's a Star Trek episode with spectacle. Yes, because how many times in Star Trek did it feel like they landed on a planet and it was just like this little 10-foot by 10-foot bit of fake land with like a fake mountain, and how many times did it feel like that? And then you watch this, and okay, there's not a lot of planet landing, admittedly, but when they do land on V'Ger eventually, it feels, even though a lot of it's obviously a map painting and stuff, it feels like this big expansive thing, and it feels like huge.
It does, and even just set aside the fact of how good the score is, the fact that it has a dedicated score rather than just like most of the episodes, okay, there's a master track sheet and we pulled from them.
Now, obviously, the main theme, the main thing that plays at the start of Star Trek and everything, right?
Yeah.
It's the one that's carried across every show and stuff, right? The na 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 na, right? Not that one. That's the main theme of this. I keep mixing them up, and when I try to hum them, the point I'm making is obviously that's there, right? Because that's always in Star Trek, and they've got the new main theme from this, which was also then used as the main intro for Next Generation. So look forward to that. You get to hear that every episode.
Oh, sweet.
When we get to Next Gen, best decision they ever made at the start of that show was picking that music. But what I've forgotten about and was surprised at is that there's a point, it's actually just after Spock, I think, arrives on the ship. There's like a dark version of the end credits theme from the original series. It's not as singing, because obviously in the original end credits it's like, it's like a vocal element to it. It was like na 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 na, right? Whereas this is like a slow kind of like dun, 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 dun. It's there in the soundtrack, and I'm like, I forgot they put that in that cue, but they did, and they used it in a really sort of little dark way. It was kind of like the crew's all together now. It's kind of like Star Trek, but there's something kind of off.
You're right. It's another way it feels authentic because there are cues you recognize.
Yeah.
Even though I say it's got its original score compared to a lot of the episodes, which are recycling a lot of pieces, which is fine.
That's TV. Yeah.
Exactly. It's nice that they still acknowledge those pieces.
Yeah. Because that's very much part of the... Because I do hate, and that's why when I was mentioning how I was angry at Wrath of Khan for not using the music, I do hate when sequels, especially when I think the previous movie had a good score, when they just completely abandon any of the motifs, any of the... it's just a completely new thing.
Yeah.
I like when it evolves. Like, I think one of the great things that Terminator 2 does is that it takes the main theme and there's a completely different style of music with it, but it keeps the main theme. It keeps it feeling like it's part of the same world, but it evolves it. So, the first movie, it's all synth and... Well, just all synth, basically. It's all synth with some drums.
It is. Yeah.
And then the second movie, you've got a full orchestra doing it. You've got an orchestra with violins doing the main theme as this ridiculous drum beats going, and it's like, no, that's an evolution of the music.
It is. And then you have things like Marvel movies are a pretty good example, I think, of doing it wrong for the most part. It's gotten better.
Yeah.
But
it's gotten a lot. I'll give them credit. It feels like they've kept the Avengers theme around. And they've let that kind of grow a little bit.
Like it's gotten better as it's gone on, but like first Captain America movie, I really don't like that movie, but it has a very distinctive soundtrack. Probably my favorite thing about that movie, honestly, is the brass theme, and I think they've used it like once since then.
Yeah.
In all of the sequel movies, and it's like, okay, come on.
Yeah, yeah, it's rough. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like it sometimes when there's a theme that's you associate with the early days of something and then they bring it back. There's a great example I love to bring up from the spin-off of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But in the early days of Angel, there was this like heroic, almost Batman-esque theme that Angel had. And it was in season 1, it was used a couple of times in season 2, and then it kind of went away. And I kind of missed it, but I kind of got that the show had evolved beyond that kind of vigilante thing that it was going for at the start. In the 100th episode in season 5, they brought that theme in for this big moment where, he says something badass and then this heroic Batman-esque theme plays from the season 1. And it was so, like, nostalgic hitting me with that. In fact,
Yeah.
that show also did it with another theme. There's a death theme that plays in season 1. I won't, spoil anything, but there's a death theme in season 1, and the theme's about sacrifice because someone sacrifices himself. And in the second last episode of the show, they bring that theme up again when everyone's sort of like opted into a plan that is probably suicidal, but they have to try and save the day. And the emotion that comes with that, because what it was only used once, and because it's scarcely used, there's impact there. So I do appreciate that there is an impact to not overusing some themes. But at the same time, with this thing, with Star Trek, we're doing an adventure. It's an adventure movie. And I think the superheroes fall into this and some other stuff falls into this, where you do want the themes to come back. You want to have that through line. Sure, evolve them, change them, do different things with them, but have that familiar thing come back. Yeah. So, but no. So yeah, like you say, this is an original score. It sounds fantastic. The Dolby True HD track on the Blu-ray is phenomenal. I can't praise it enough. So that's enough about the music because we just gushed about it for 5-10 minutes.
We did. And I'll say it was so good.
Yeah, it looks good. The cinematography is really good. The color's good. I think where you need to talk against keeping spoiler free is stuff like the different costumes. How does the ship look? How does the bridge look? That kind of thing. How are you feeling about these things?
Mixed. I don't hate them. It's just so different, right? But
That's fair. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going, oh, that's bad. I got so used to what it was before, and now it's like, okay, this is what it looks like now that I'm not used to it.
I get why they wanted it to look more like a uniform, because before it was just like a top and trousers. So I get that. I do think it's weird though they completely abandoned the color scheme of the outfits.
Yeah, like I kind of like the white on the Admiralty.
That's fair, yeah. Because I think because Next Gen has the color scheme and they have those like onesie things which take or leave them. Like I'm not like I think these suits look better in terms of the actual material.
It looks like a Navy uniform, doesn't it?
Yeah. As opposed to a circus uniform or whatever we're going to call Next Gen's onesies, leotards, whatever. But they look pretty good. It's very muted. There's a scene here actually where before they leave, Kirk gives a speech to like all the crew of the Enterprise, which by the way, again, the spectacle and just feeling bigger. Whenever he gave a speech to the crew in the Enterprise in the original show, it was a room full of like 12 people. This is like a scene with like 200 extras all standing there like waiting for orders, and I'm like, damn, this feels
is how
big.
You do it.
In fact, speaking of that, even just like being on Earth and being at when Kirk arrives, you get that moment where the music comes in as you see his face through the window, and he steps out, and you're like, wait a minute, we're at Starfleet. We're there. Like we never went there on the show. That felt like a big deal. I was like, we're here.
No, you're right. The more I'm thinking about it, as we're talking here, I assume the people who don't like this movie are probably people who didn't really watch the original series, hadn't got as much of an attachment. Maybe a lot of them probably came in later. They've seen all the movies maybe and gone, okay, knowing what they expect from blockbuster movies, they're like, okay, this is one of the weakest ones. But as Star Trek, I don't know, kind of feels in character. Like I say, everything kind of feels authentic to what the show was, and it feels like, okay, just a bigger version. And
yeah, I mean, I think if I'm going to critique it, I would say there is some pacing issues in the middle. I think after the Kirk's made a mistake at one point, and they're on their way to V'ger, I think there's a lull of about 20 to 30 minutes where it feels like it's going, not in circles, but just it's maybe dragging out the journey a little bit.
Yeah, which, I mean, you could say keeps it authentic.
Because it's a long journey, so it takes time.
Yes, yeah.
This is true. So it makes sense. That's it. So I think there's critiques to be had. There absolutely is.
It's not perfect,
but I've never gotten the hate. I've never gotten why it's seen as this this step cousin, the stepchild of the franchise.
Yes, you can say it. It's the red-headed stepchild. You can say that.
I don't want to say something sensitive in your presence.
Never usually stops you.
Of course not. Gingers have no souls. Anyway, moving on. So, yeah, I think the design, the Joe bugged me about the bridge. Actually, this is just a minor detail. I hated that for some reason Spock's station was now where Uhura's used to be, and Uhura was over to the other side. It was like,
Yeah.
Why change that? Why?
No, that's fair. Was weird to me. I don't know. Like, this is probably just my eyes playing tricks on me, or maybe the way it's shot.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like the ceiling was lower. Like, it didn't feel like there was the same amount of height.
That's because they actually had a ceiling.
No, I know, but it was because I always got a sense of, okay, there's this much depth. Even when they weren't showing us a ceiling, I always got a sense of the room because of where the lifts were at the back, and you could kind of see the dimensions. I still got a sense of the height.
I think that's down to because on a TV set they just build the walls high but no ceiling so they can shoot lights over it.
Yeah.
To make the set easy to move around and work with. Yeah, it's funny
I
though.
don't think you see the ceiling that much in this, do you?
No, not a ton. I do feel like it feels more like an actual ship though. Like there's a couple of things in the original series where the bridge has like carpet, and I'm like, a bridge in a ship wouldn't have a carpet. What?
What if you wanted to take your shoes off and keep your feet warm?
Yeah, because that's a professional work environment.
Look, it's to stop you slipping.
Sure. It can't help but feel like they built the bridge around like just a regular room, as opposed to here where it feels like an actual bridge on a ship of some kind. I don't want to say it's super realistic because again it's a made up starship. These things don't exist, but it feels a bit more like an actual industrial military device or whatever. So this is cool. So yeah, everyone does look older. Obviously, it's been about 10, 11 years since the original series went off air, which is a big gap.
Expected.
Joe, what's funny about it is that I feel like these days that gap doesn't feel like anything anymore. But I think the cast in this show were all a kind of middle-aged sort of range when they were doing the show. That the difference feels quite big when you see them in the movie.
It's more noticeable with some than others.
Yeah, because like. Because when you think about, like, say, the Marvel movies right now, they've been going for 10 years, and, like, does Robert Downey Jr. look that much older than he did in Iron Man 1?
No,
really?
No, that's fair. That's fair. I would say, like Kirk doesn't look that different, whereas Scotty, you can tell, okay, he was already, probably dyeing his hair quite a lot at the end of the original series. Yeah, just to keep it that in the style.
Yeah, James Doohan definitely was maybe pushing his age a little bit, so he's an older guy, which is fine. And then Uhura, it's kind of like a bit more like Kirk. She doesn't look like she's aged that much. I think it just depended on what age they were at when they were doing the show, because I think
pretty much
if they were going from their late 30s to the late 40s, there's probably more of a difference in how they look.
Yeah.
And it could also be a testament to how much they were, like you say, hiding their age at the end of the show, if maybe they'll try to hide it a little bit. So let's talk about Bones' beard. Because Bones is actually the last of the original crew that we meet, I think, in the show.
Yeah, Spock's separate for longer.
Yeah, he's not. He's the last one in the ship, but we see him on Vulcan. Because he's about to complete his ritual to be like a true Vulcan and like shed all emotion. Which, by the way, this is another reason why I think this movie works better if you have seen the show and you're attached to the show. Because when Spock shows up and he acts cold and he acts like he's not a friend to everyone, because because even Bones is like, "Oh, I'm glad to see you, Spock," and he's just like, "Yes, Doctor." He's very cold. He's very
It feels so different from where we left them.
They're expecting their old friend to show up, and he's acting like he barely knows them. And it's not until later on that kind of we go through the arc of that, but. Okay, we'll talk about that in spoilers. But
yeah.
So now, but Bones shows up with a beard. Bones is pissed that he's been roped into this. He's basically being conscripted.
He was on a beach
because Kirk demanded that he have his crew back, and he's pissed about it. But so he's fun as per usual.
Delightfully. What's the word? Grumpy.
Oh yeah, he's super grumpy. as soon as he agrees to be the Doctor again, he starts complaining about all the computers they've put in the med bay. He's like, oh, there's a goddamn computer lab in there now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Also, props to this movie early on. So this is mild spoiler, but I wouldn't say we're in spoiler territory yet, because this is an early on thing. But they actually kill some people because the transporter malfunctions and they don't transport properly.
Yeah, that was dark as shit.
That was really dark. It's just because Kirk wanted a Vulcan on board. He wanted a Vulcan science officer.
Science officer. Yeah.
And so he's got this Vulcan handpicked, and we see him briefly at the start, and they're beaming him and his partner on or whatever, and there's like a glitch. The something goes wrong with the transporter.
Yeah, because everything's not ready yet.
Yeah, and they're trying their best. Because I was actually thinking, why are we spending that long trip to get onto the ship? And I thought, oh, it's because the transporters aren't up yet. That's why they're having to manually, fly onto it.
And I think that's the case, because I think it was Scotty. He's just like, hey, no, do not turn that on. Do not beam them up here.
Yeah.
But it was, too late.
Yeah. And they try, and basically because when Kirk calls back down, have you got them? Did they come back okay? The guy at the other end's like, what came back didn't live long. And I'm like, that is dark.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of my critiques of the movie, in that it doesn't serve any purpose other than to be like, hey, we can do this now.
I don't think that's the purpose. I think the purpose is the slot's there for Spock. So there's no issue. Like, Spock is needed when he shows up.
It didn't need to be quite that dark. I think to me it really felt like, hey, we're a big movie now. Look at what we can get away with.
That's fair. I guess it's to sell the threat of the ship's not ready, because the whole time, like, Scott's not sure. Like, I don't know if the ship can run at warp speed, sir. Like, I don't know if it's happening. And
yeah,
I think it's to sell the threat that this thing might just fall apart when they try and fly out, because it's not really ready to go. Now, I'm kind of defending it a little bit. I kind of agree with your point, but at the same time, I like the scene in and of itself enough that I'm not that pissed about it.
I don't hate it when I'm watching. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool visual. When they come through and the faces are all kind of melting.
Yeah.
It looks good, and I'm into it. But at the same time, in my head, I'm going, but what's the point of this?
It's proper body horror is what it is.
It is. It is.
It's great. And we have some new characters worth mentioning. We have the captain of the ship, who is supposed to be the captain, and then because basically Kirk tells all his old crew, "Oh, yeah, I'm captain now. I'm running the ship," and they're all happy because Kirk's back. The Captain Kirk, James T. Kirk, the legend. And he's like, "Oh, have you told Decker yet? The captain?" No, I'm on my way to do that now. And I'm like, "Oh dear, oh dear."
Yeah.
And he has to pull him aside, and he's like, "Hey, it's not under your command anymore. It's mine." It's
yeah.
"Oh, you dick, Kirk. You've been wanting to be on a starship again ever since you left."
Yeah.
I did like though he brought up that my experience being tackling this kind of thing on the 5-year mission. He mentions that is why I'm better at this. And Decker quite rightly says, yes, but the ship's changed since then, and I know this ship inside and out. You don't know this ship.
And he goes, you've not been in space for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I like about this is there actually is points here where Kirk is being kind of selfish, he's being kind of egotistical. And while he is a good captain, he'll make some good calls, he does mess up. There's a big scene coming up, of course, where he does make the wrong call. Decker has to basically force an order change, which Kirk's not happy about at first until Decker explains, no, if that would went through, you would have completely screwed over, I think, our shields or whatever, because of the way that it routes through the phasers or whatever. They all, the way the wiring works, basically. And it was like, okay, so Kirk has to eat some humble pie. And that's good. That's character development.
It is, yeah. It's nice to see him be wrong sometimes.
It is nice, yeah. So we have Decker, who kind of stays behind as the second. He also doubles the science officer until Kirk pops on board. And then you also have... Sorry, Spock, yeah. You know what I meant. Until Spock pops on board. And then you also have Ilya, who is an alien who has a relationship history with Decker. And she's there. And she, of course, is a big plot point for later on. Not much of a character in of herself, because she's obviously taken over later on, but she's around too. So no, that's the gist of the film. We'll give the spoiler warning so we can talk about the actual plot now and where it goes. And So V'ger, does kind of that. It's a super powerful entity. It can do anything. Not super anything, but it takes Ilya, and then pops her back onto the ship, and she's like a drone speaking for V'ger and like learning things, and keeps referring to the carbon-based life forms as unnecessary components, as if it expects everything to just be part of the machine. And why is there life on
to
here?
Run itself?
Yeah. And of course, Spock shows up. Spock is drawn to this thing. He's drawn to this V'ger. He doesn't know why, but he is. The Vulcans think it's his human side that's sort of bringing this in. And of course, Spock kind of has the most important character arc because it kind of relates to V'ger itself. V'ger is this unfeeling thing that doesn't understand life. So Spock himself, of course, goes through this journey where here, by the end of the film, he has to accept. Because there's a great moment later on, after everything's went down, where he actually refers to Kirk as his friend, and it's like, okay, he's
back.
He's back, yeah. In fact, that's what made me laugh, is the movie actually ends with a banter scene. We get the Kirk, Spock, McCoy scene at the end.
It's great, isn't it?
Before they fly off, yeah. They did the formula of the show. Impressively so.
They did. It's funny, given that one of our critiques of the original series often was that the episodes were too long. And it's like they could have been timed up, and that's true here as well. We mentioned the lull in the middle, but overall, it translates to the longer runtime relatively well, given that this is kind of just an episode.
I would maybe shave like 10 minutes off the middle section a little bit, and get it down to just under 2 hours as opposed to 2 hours 10. But I do think, and I think the reason for this, more than anything, is the visual spectacle. They can bask in how wondrous things look. They can let music play as we get a sweeping shot. You couldn't really do that in the show because they didn't have the impressive things to look at. It was all dialogue. Whereas there's sections of this movie, like, there is dialogue sections, but the sections where we leave the ship and it's like, Spock going rogue and just flying to. It's almost 2001, a Space Odyssey style. Where
that was one of 3 scenes I'd seen from this movie that I'd forgotten I'd seen them. It was when I got to it and I was like, holy shit, I watched this movie, or parts of this movie in class. I completely forgot about that. I was like, I've seen this.
He's basically trying to mind meld with V'ger and try to figure out what's going on. And we need to talk about what V'ger actually is. V'ger is this thing that wants to just gain knowledge, and it's worth mentioning at the time this came out, it was only a few years after Voyager 1 and 2 went into space, and I think I wonder how mind blowing this was in the theaters. If you were nerdy enough to know about Voyager 1 and 2, if this was like
I don't think you would have needed to be that nerdy at the time. They were quite big, news announcements.
I'll take your word for it. I mean, I'm just questioning, like, how much did this mean to your average Joe? How much did your average Joe going to see a movie?
I think we're still in that period following the space race where we did the moon, right?
Yeah.
And it was still very much in the public consciousness. I think most people would have been aware of what they were.
So it turns out that the V'ger is actually a Voyager. It's not one of the actual ones that launched. It's Voyager 6, which I believe is fictional, but it's something that launched later. And it's the idea is that it went out to gain knowledge and then became sentient and built and grew and is coming back to Earth to meet its creator, which sounds like someone trying to find God. But of course, in this case, once we realise what it is, it's like, wait, we're the creator. We're God.
It doesn't realise that because obviously it thinks it's another machine that's built it and created it.
Yeah.
Because it's confused by the life, and it's like, well, what's going on?
And it all kind of builds up to Decker, who kind of connects with the drone version of Ilya to try and like calm her down because there might be some connection there, and then he like agrees to stay back and kind of be absorbed by V'ger so it can understand life better. And basically, as they point out at the end, they basically created a new life. Like they kind of merge, and it becomes this higher being almost. It's almost like all those different like godlike beings that we had in the original series. This is almost the creation of one.
It kind of is, yeah. I think it's interesting because obviously, V'ger was definitely already aware it was a sentient AI of some level. It's kind of established throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But once you add in Decker, it adds this humanity element that might separate it from a lot of the godlike entities that we see in the show, where it has that compassion that the others don't.
Well, that's very true. And this is your big ending, and I think this is why for people who don't like this one, they think, there's no action. It's just getting to the thing, and then they get to the thing, and it's just an emotional beat. There's no big shootouts or things. There's no big villain who we really hate. Don't worry, you're getting that in Wrath of Khan. Don't worry.
I know.
The villain's coming.
Yeah. But
it's happening.
This is Star Trek. I mean, it feels like the show, so I can't. And being a fan of the show, I enjoyed what not all of it, obviously, because there's some bad episodes. But you've just worked through all 3 seasons. Overall, I enjoyed it. This feels like just it's a pretty good episode of the show.
Yeah, with just the more spectacle and the fantastic music, and and I'm never not going to be touched by the bond between the crew members, especially Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Like, when Spock calls him his friend after he's in the med bay after the whole try to kamikaze into it, like, it's hard not to like get feel something for that. It's just that the show was always about like getting into the unknown and finding something, and I'm not against the show, Star Trek doing other things, and it often has, and it sometimes does them really well. Wrath of Khan's a classic for a reason.
But you shouldn't mark this one down for not being something different.
Exactly. So, no, I greatly approve of the motion picture. I actually think it's very good.
I do too. I have a question. Did you see this originally before you'd seen any of the show?
No, I'd seen maybe the first season.
Okay, fair enough.
So I had the attachment, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm not sure how does things like like Spock play without that attachment already. I don't know.
Do you get that impact there? Because you're not expecting the friendship necessarily. So, and then him coming back round to it, because they have that whole scene where he calls Spock into his quarters, and it's like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy try to like talk to each other, and they're trying to
figure out what the hell's going on with Spock.
They're trying to talk sense to him, and he's just cold the entire time, and it kind of hurts. It's like, no, Spock, all that progress over the show, and
right.
And what I like about it though is it kind of builds more into the next movie as well, because the friendship's a big part of the next one. So that'll be exciting to get to that stuff. But I love the spectacle in this one. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit overlong. Could do with a bit of a trim. It's worth mentioning we watched the theatrical cut for this. I know it was a director's cut.
Do you know if there's much difference between them?
I'm actually unfamiliar with what the differences are with the director's cut.
Fair enough.
But we both had the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray has the theatrical cut, so that's what we watched. So I think the reason why it's not on the Blu-ray is something to do with the effects, and the extra scenes weren't
something to do with the rights.
Not the rights, just what they were rendered at. They were rendered at SD.
Okay.
Because there was never a theater release.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, fair enough. It's weird. I mean, maybe now it would get that, because a lot of Blu-rays now that when especially things like TV shows that had effects rendered in SD just release the Blu-ray. It's like, yeah, sorry, effect shots are in the lower definition, but what can we do?
Yeah. Or sometimes it's just a case of the footage is still in HD, but the effect element is low resolution itself.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But this is what it is. But no, I really like motion picture. It gets a lot of flack, and I even think it's one of the weaker ones. I think there's much weaker Star Trek movies than this one.
Has me slightly concerned, given the reputation. If it's like, okay, people didn't like this one, what about the ones that people really hate?
Yeah, admittedly, original cast movies are got a pretty good batting average, I'd say.
Okay.
There's really only one that's.
I know.
Rough.
People always tell the rule of thumb is even movies are good, odd numbers not so much, right? That's the general rule that people kind of bandy around. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, 3's not too bad though. It's 5 you need to be afraid of. You fear 5. Fear it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get there in like a month.
Yeah. But yeah. So no, that's the motion picture. So I guess I'll ask the question. What rating are you giving the motion picture?
I think it just about scrapes itself an 8. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. I'll agree with that. It's a solid 8 out of 10. I really like it. It's good.
Yeah, too.
So no, it's a visual and audio feast, and a bit light on plot, but that's okay. It's okay. It's a slow journey. It's just a slow journey in the mystery. I like it a lot. So that is Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Next time which is hopefully next week. If it ends up skipping a week, we apologise, but just the schedule's a bit tight. It's harder to fit in the movie than it is compared to an episode of the TV show. But it should be next week. We'll be doing Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. So that'll be next time on this Star Trek already cancelled series. So should be exciting, should be fun, and we'll get there next time. And how weird is it to be doing a Star Trek episode of already cancelled? It's not an episode of the original series.
Yeah, it's still thrown me. Your intro was particularly weird.
Yeah, so how do I introduce this? Because I've got such a set thing that I say. At least when we get to the next gen, it'll just be the exact same intros that used to be. Just instead of saying if we're going to talk about Star Trek the original series, it'll be we're going to talk about Star Trek the Next Generation.
Which will be weird at first, just because it's different.
Yeah.
But this one was like, okay, you had none of your usual flow. You just kind of did a thing.
Well, I had to. We've done a movie.
I know.
It's weird.
That much choice.
It's weird. But there you go. So that is Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Let us know what you think of the movie in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. If you want to support the channel and everything we do here, and keep the reviews coming, you can head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You get these Star Trek reviews a week early at the $1 tier. You get some other stuff here or there, higher tiers as well. But all of it helps, all of it supports us. So if you want to have a go at a look, we appreciate it loads. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. And we will see you next time, guys. Keep watching Star Trek and sci-fi and space things and Klingons and everything nice and sugar and space. I don't know where I'm going with this. Bye, guys.
What you need to do is you need an outro line. I need to learn it in Klingon.
Piss off! That's not happening. I'll give you live long and prosper if you want that, but I'm not doing a Klingon outro.
It's worth a try. I'm sorry, guys. I tried.
Live long and is the thumb out or in? I think it's out, right?
I don't think it's out.
Thumb out. Live long and prosper.
Yeah, out.